Hello and welcome to my channel. It's nice to see you. On this channel, my aim is to report true crime cases and honour the victims through my art. You may notice that I am speaking to you through an avatar, and this is because I seem to be camera shy. But I still felt that it was important to create content so the victims of these crimes get the recognition that they deserve. Just a disclaimer. All the cases that I will cover on this channel use information that I have found on the internet and is for educational purposes only. I would like to remind my audience that the themes in this video could be triggering and feature mentions of murder, sexual assault, and some generally gory details. If you feel this is something you can't handle, click off the video now and I hope to see you on another video. I apologise in advance if I pronounce anything wrong. It's not meant to offend anyone. It's just something that I have to work on. I will now begin talking about the victims in this case. Oluwatoyin Ruth Salau, also known as Toyin, which I'll be using to refer to her as in this video, was born on the 27th of August 2000, making her a fellow Virgo. We actually share the exact same birth date. Toyin was born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida, and was a Nigerian American with her first language being Yoruba. She was a Christian and the youngest member of her church choir. While growing up in church, Toyin assisted in the children's Sunday school and was also an active participant in the weekly Bible study sessions. Toyin attended the Buck Lake Elementary School, where she actually won the NAACP Dreamers and Doers Award, which just shows how people recognized her potential from a young age. Toyin went on to study at Swift Creek Middle School in Tallahassee, where she was an active member of the Black History and Cultural Brain Bowl, which I believe from researching is a team that competes in trivia tournaments with the theme being Black Heritage. At this school, Toyin was also in the school band and the yearbook committee. In 2018, Toyin graduated from Lincoln High School and went into the Lively Technical College to study cosmetology. During this time, Toyin started a business in hairdressing and modelling, which was expanding her horizons and fulfilling her passion for fashion. In 2019, while still attending the Lively Technical College, Toyin enrolled into the Tallahassee Community College to study law. This was due to her concern for the current injustice in society. Toyin has been described as an emerging leader and a prominent voice in the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. She was an activist and clearly cared for the lives of others, in particular Tony McDade, who she advocated for during these protests. Toyin is also known for her video where she spoke about her feelings on police violence and racial inequality. I will put this video down in the description box so you can watch it for yourselves. Toyin didn't have a particularly easy life when she was alive. Her posts on Twitter revealed that she was in fact homeless and a victim of sexual assault. On the 6th of June 2020, Toyin was offered a ride, a place to sleep, and a chance to retrieve belongings that she had left at a church by an unknown man. Toyin believed this man to be a man of God. However, it was revealed in Toyin's Twitter post that this man wasn't a man of God as she expected, and he had sexually assaulted her. This happened on the 6th of June, which was also the day Toyin was last seen alive. On the 11th of June 2020, 5 days after Toyin went missing, Victoria Magoon Sims, also known as Vicky, was reported missing as well. Victoria Magoon Sims was a 75-year-old woman born on August the 15th, 1944, making her a Leo. Victoria, who I will be referring to as Vicky, was born in Alabama but grew up in Buffalo, New York, and moved to Tallahassee in 1985. After completing her degrees from Tulane University and Louisiana State University, Vicky worked for the state of Louisiana whilst pursuing doctoral research in industrial psychology. After moving to Tallahassee in 1985, she worked for the state in many roles up until her retirement. However, even after her retirement, she continued to participate as a retiree at the American Federation of State, County and Municipal Employees Union. Sorry if I mispronounced that word. This work, I believe, shows how hard Vicky has worked through her life. She has been committed to helping people in every walk of life. Vicky was an advocate for older Americans and spent her time and energy on organisations such as AARP, where she was a long-time committed volunteer, and she also put her energy into the Second Harvest Food Bank. Vicky was said to have loved everything about music, and she actually sang in the groups Sweet Adeline, Voices Angelorium, and Threshold Choir International. She supported local musicians and cultural events by attending many performances. I think that's just amazing how people of any age just can adore music so much. Music is very powerful. In addition to her service as a state worker, Vicky was actively engaged in public affairs. She was a member of the Village Square discussion group that explored solutions to societal problems by discussion. Both Vicky and Toyin worked tirelessly to improve the lives of others through their advocacy, and yet their lives were taken from the world. Before we get into the timeline of this crime, now would be a good time to take a break, grab yourself a drink, and just take a breather, especially if you are feeling overwhelmed from what we have covered so far. I'm drinking a drink called Soursop today. It's from Jamaica, I believe, and it's very delicious. So let's get into the timeline of this crime so we can understand what happened more. If you do struggle to follow along, I will post a summary of the timeline in the description box below. My apologies, I rushed ahead, but before we start looking at the timeline, we need to introduce our main and only suspect, Aaron Glee Jr. Aaron Glee Jr., who I will refer to as Glee in this case, is a 49-year-old man born on the 4th of August 1971, making him a Leo. He was born in West Palm Beach, Florida, but later relocated to Tallahassee, Florida. Okay, now we can get into the timeline. On the 28th of May, Glee allegedly punched another man and fled, but was caught by the police. The victim told officers that he wanted to press charges against Glee. However, it was at a time when local enforcement were trying to reduce physical arrests in less serious matters to avoid overcrowding in the jails during the coronavirus pandemic. The officer didn't take Glee into custody, but issued him a notice to appear for a misdemeanour battery charge in court. The date was set for the 7th of July. One day after this incident, and the interaction with the police. Glee was arrested again on an aggravated battery charge after a police officer witnessed him kicking a woman in the stomach because she refused him sex. Glee was released on a $2,500 bond on the 1st of June, following an incomplete evaluation. This, in my opinion, if I'm allowed to have one, is absolutely ridiculous. How could you let someone out into the public who is obviously so violent, and especially violent to women? It's just not okay. The 6th of June was when Toyin was last seen. This was also the very same day she tweeted about being sexually assaulted by an unknown male. This male has also never been identified. On June 8th, it is actually recorded by the Kearney Centre that Toyin made it to the shelter at 9:30 that night and was given a number for case managers as the centre was closed. However, the centre says it has no record of Toyin reaching out to any of the case managers, and I could only find this piece of information on one source, so I don't know how credible it is. On the 9th of June, the Tallahassee Police Department posted a missing persons flyer for Toyin. On the 11th of June is when the police say that Vicky was last seen, and on the 13th of June, after a family friend found the door of Vicky's apartment ajar and the rooms ransacked, Vicky was reported missing and the police posted flyers again. Amid the disorder, electronics were found to be missing from Vicky's home. This included her cell phone, which police were able to trace to the home of Aaron Glee Jr., where 15 minutes after they had posted Vicky's missing persons flyer, they found Vicky, and they also found Toyin. However, they were both deceased. Hours after the discovery of the bodies, Orlando police arrested Glee in a Greyhound bus station after receiving information from the Tallahassee Police Department. Glee had bought a one-way ticket to West Palm Beach, Florida, where he had family, but fortunately he was caught before he arrived there. When the police caught up to Glee and arrested him, he actually waived his right to remain silent and gave his account of events to officers. Your right to remain silent is the phrase that police say when they arrest you. You know, that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you do or say will be used against you in the court of law. Yeah, that. These rights are actually slightly different in the UK. When you're arrested in the UK, the police will say something like, I am arresting you on suspicion of whatever crime you committed, and you do not have to say or do anything, but anything you do or say may be taken down and used in evidence against you in a court of law. It's very similar to the Miranda rights that's used in America, but it's different. Okay, back to the case now. While in police custody, Glee claimed of breathing problems, so he was then taken to the Orlando hospital, where he openly told officers about the murders. He was also able to place a phone call in which he called his mother and confessed his crimes to her as well. If I had a child and they just confessed to not only assaulting someone, but murdering two beautiful human lives, my child would wish they never rang me. The following information is the sequence of events that the police gathered from Glee's confession and also CCTV evidence and what they believe. On the 6th of June 2020, Aaron Glee came across Toyin at a bus stop on Alapachi Parkway and started a conversation with her. During this conversation, Toyin revealed to him that she had been sexually assaulted earlier in the day, which was something she also posted on Twitter. Glee offered to take Toyin to his house so she could have a wash and get some sleep, and as anyone would feel in that situation, Toyin agreed. Some may say that she shouldn't have gone with Glee, but you have to understand that she's 19 years old and she's only been a fully fledged adult for 2 years. She had just been sexually assaulted and was actually wearing her aggressor's clothing at the time. And this man, Glee, was offering her a moment of kindness and she decided to take it. If I was in the exact same position, I'd have probably agreed too. After Toyin agreed to go to Glee's house, he then called a friend to pick him up. This friend was Vicky Sims. Vicky was a very helpful woman and didn't hesitate to help someone in need. So when she arrived, Glee and Toyin left, and the three rode from the bus stop in Vicky's Toyota sedan to Glee's home. Video footage shows Glee and Toyin seated on a bench in the bus stop having an extended conversation at approximately 7:07 p.m. while a white Toyota, the same make and model owned by Vicky, arrived and then departed moments later with Glee and Toyin. Glee told the police that after arriving at his house, Toyin went and took a shower, and Glee tried to initiate sexual intercourse with Toyin. However, she said no and tried to fight him off. During this fight, Toyin allegedly bit Glee on his right arm during the struggle, but unfortunately, Glee managed to overpower Toyin. The location of Vicky Sims at this time is something I couldn't find. However, I believe from the police statements that she was tied up by Glee after he ransacked her apartment, stole her car, and kidnapped her. Glee told the police in one of his many confessions that he kept Toyin tied up and imprisoned in his home for 3 to 5 days. The date isn't exact, as Glee says he was heavily intoxicated and couldn't remember how long it was. During this time of imprisonment, Glee said he'd occasionally release Toyin so she could bathe and eat, but during the days that she was imprisoned, Toyin was sexually assaulted numerous times. Glee's logic behind his overall act was that if he was to let Toyin go, he'd land back in jail, as he'd been previously arrested on the battery charges. So instead of releasing Toyin, Glee decided that his only choice was to end Toyin's life. He bound Toyin in a manner that he believed would restrict her breathing, and he left her in a bedroom. Over the course of several hours, Glee went in to check to see if Toyin was still alive, and after a few hours of torture, Toyin had passed away. Vicky's body was found under a bloody sheet in a bedroom, while Toyin's body was found under a pile of leaves in the woods. I couldn't find the details of how Vicky died, I did look, and I feel like it was my responsibility to find it, as I want to do her story justice and give her a voice. However, I really couldn't find it. But if you do come across it, please send it my way and I will put it in this video, because her story needs to be heard. What I find incredibly frustrating about this case is the fact that Glee knew exactly what he was doing wrong. He understood that holding Toyin and Victoria captive would likely land him in jail, which it should, and instead of just getting in trouble for kidnap, he decided to murder them, making his situation worse. Like, I have no sympathy for him. He has taken 2 lives, but it didn't have to be that way. Like, Toyin was alive for several hours in the room. At any point he could have gone in, changed his mind and improved the situation, but he didn't. In my opinion, Glee should have never been released from jail. He was clearly a violent person and a risk to society. 2 lives were taken because police didn't complete paperwork, and I'm not completely blaming the police here because they obviously don't control how people act, but I find it hard to understand that Glee was arrested 2 days in a row and he still managed to slip through the cracks, which led him to then be able to murder these 2 women. It's just confusing to me that we live in a society that even just an assault is something that police need to look into. They need to take seriously, because it could lead to other things, and we don't need dangerous people out on our streets. Leon County grand jurors indicted Aaron Glee Jr. on kidnapping, sexual assault and first-degree murder charges in the killings of Victoria Sims and Oluwatoyin Salau. I believe indicted means that he has been charged, and I did see that they were trying to get him the death sentence, but I'm not sure how far that went, because the source that I read was the only source that mentioned that. Now, there are some alleged explanations for Glee's actions, which I'm going to go into a little bit, but they've not been confirmed as far as I know, and I didn't want to use them as facts in the case because it's not something that I know is 100% true. Anyway, Glee allegedly told his mom, whose identity I also won't disclose, even though it is out there, but I won't do that. He told his mom that he flew into a fit of rage and strangled Toyin after she'd asked him for drugs and he'd refused. I've also seen on other sources that she allegedly asked for alcohol, but again, none of this is confirmed. Glee's mom claimed that he told her that Toyin had called him the N-word, which prompted his rage. So he's saying multiple versions of his truth. She also revealed that her son had been struggling recently with mental health issues, so it's unclear how reliable any of his version of events are. Glee was also apparently on the brink of homelessness himself, which it said that contributed to his mental state. However, even if you're going through struggles in your life, I believe that is no excuse to take a human life. You do not have the power to do that. You should not have the power to do that. It's wrong. At some point after Toyin was killed, Glee allegedly told his mother that Vicky stopped by the house to visit, but Glee got angry after she allegedly called him a slob and he killed her. He had been friends with Vicky and even referred to her as his white grandmother. And Glee's mother says that this makes it even more shocking, and I agree with that point. I really do. Glee's mom said her son has been struggling with his mental health, and in the months before the killings, he was on the verge of a breakdown. She also told the Daily Mail that he'd been hearing loud music outside his home that wasn't there, and he would also go outside and yell to see where the music was, and there wasn't any music. Glee's mom said he even told her that he thinks he's losing his mind. He was allegedly taken to a mental health clinic in Tallahassee in February after he'd been picked up by police, but he refused to stay at the centre. I couldn't find this as a fact, so I'm just going to again state that. This is where I'm going to leave this case. If you would like to discuss it further, please comment down below and I will try my best to respond to comments. I'd like to thank my viewers and just urge people to like and subscribe, as it will help my channel grow so that I can share these stories with the world. I think it's important to give these victims a voice, make their stories heard, and spread the word. I will also be reaching out to the victims' families to give them the art that I've created today. However, if you are a member of the family and you are watching, my condolences are with you. And if you would like this art, you can email me at the email address that will be in the description box below and I will send it to you. I hope you all have a blessed day and stay safe. Bye.